What's good, everybody? Hope y'all doing well. I've been churning out a bunch of beats this week, a little more than normal, and I've kind of noticed that I've developed this pattern when it comes to making hard trap beats. So in this video, I'm going to show y'all what that method is, and you can use this if you're a beginner, even if you're an experienced producer that's just stuck, that wants to just get the ball rolling and just start cooking up. This is a great method in my opinion. That's enough said, so let's just jump right into it. So the first part of the beat is going to be the melody or the sample, and there's four main components to this. The first being your original bassist melody, which is going to have like the core idea of the beat. The second is going to be your bass notes. Third is like some sort of accent sound. And the fourth is going to be a counter melody or a lead. Opening up FL here, I'm going to start off by opening up Electra X. And before I do anything sound selection wise, I'm going to up the tempo to about 155. I want something kind of a little bit faster, but not too fast. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this Ghost in Space pack. I've been using this recently, and I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these key or pad sounds. All right, I think I'm gonna grab this one right here. And so, like I just said, what we're gonna start off with is what I call the bassist melody, or in other words, what sets the kind of general theme for the beat. Usually for these, especially if I'm stuck, I like to just come up with a quick and repeating type of melody, something that just can kind of go on loop for 8 measures. That's just pretty simple. So I'm gonna start off with the key of E minor. So if you're familiar with your minor scales, you'll be able to track this pretty easily. So I'm gonna start by placing just eighth notes here. And I'll repeat this and just delete that B and move E back. So I'm just going to take this little 1 measure pattern here and duplicate it for the full 8 measures. So like I said, I just wanted something simple that we could just loop over and over. And that gets kind of old quickly, so what I'm gonna do on this last measure here is move this E up an octave to B. And so that sounds cool and all, but I think I'm just gonna add like a pretty simple top melody here. This isn't the top melody that I mentioned earlier, or like the lead, but this is just something to add a little bit more depth to the sound. So similar to the bottom melody, I just constructed one part of it and duplicated it. And again, this is really simple. It's just using the same grouping of notes. So if you're using this in another minor scale, I'm just using the first 5 notes in the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in E minor, it's E, F sharp, G, A, and B. And I'm mainly using the first, second, third, and fifth. I'm kind of sparingly using the A here. Like in the bottom here, it's just E, F sharp, G, and B. So now that we got our main idea down, I'm going to open up Xenology. And so I'm going to grab this Biggie brass preset from Xenology, which is what it sounds like, just a brass preset. And this is going to take us into the second part of our sample, which is the low notes. All we're going to do here is add a low brass onto the root note and just let it ring out and have it hit once every 4 measures. I'm actually going to take this and drop it an octave. And now I'm going to go ahead and layer that with another bass sound. So I'm going to go to Keyscape and grab this cinematic piano preset. And I'm going to just go ahead and basically do the same thing. I'm just going to throw a little bass note here on the root note of the scale, which is E. And I'm actually going to duplicate this down an octave just to give this bass note a little more depth. Also lower the velocity of these low notes. All right, so y'all get the idea. So we have our main melody here, and then we have our bass notes in the piano and the brass. And now moving on to our accent, I'm gonna go ahead and put down a tubular bell. The one that I like to use is in the plugin called Purity. So go to the presets, to the GM normal up here, and go to number 14, which is tubular bells. And similar to our bass notes, I'm just gonna drop a note right on the root note here. Real simple, that's all I'm gonna do. Now that we've got our first 3 elements of the sample complete, we can move on to our last bit, which is our counter melody or lead. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and use a violin, specifically the emotional violin from Contact. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this preset right here, the passionate and agile. And I'm gonna go ahead and just place down a top counter melody. Alright, so we basically got that down. As you might notice, there's some like static, fuzzy type of sound going on here. And I'll go ahead and show y'all my workaround to fix that. For some reason, this bank on Contact just doesn't like higher tempos, and it just makes that fuzzy sound when it tries to time stretch it, I guess. My workaround for it, if you have this same issue in any other plugins, is go up to the tempo here, right click on it, hit copy value, and then move it down to another tempo. I usually go to like 130 or 120. I'll drop the channel clip into the playlist here, and then I'll select like 10 measures just so there's a little bit of extra room on the end. Then I'll go ahead and select all these using right click and drag. Go to the mixer track, hit Control Shift L to put them all here. And I'll go to Contact and click on this little dot here to arm the track. So make sure that dot turns red. Then hit Alt and R on your keyboard. Change the mode to song selection and then hit start. And then I usually go ahead back to Contact and just turn it off and mute it using shift click. And so now we have our violin at 130 beats per minute without that staticky sound. So what we're gonna do is double click on it, change the mode to stretch, right click on my tempo and click paste value, and that'll take it back to 155. So now it's time stretched and it doesn't have that weird sound in the background. So putting it all together, this is what we have so far for our sample. I'm liking how the sample sounds so far. The only thing I want to do is probably just add a couple effects. So I'm just going to run through and do that really quickly. So let's start with the Electra. All I'm going to do is roll off the lows with an EQ here. And I'll probably cut out some of these unwanted frequencies here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and throw on some RC20. As for the brass and piano, I don't think I really need to do anything for those. Maybe I'll just turn the piano down a little bit. For the tubular bell, I want to add some reverb to it, just so it rings out a little longer. So I'll turn the decay up a little bit and the wet up a little bit. And for this violin, I want to EQ it a little bit. And I'll also throw on some RC20 onto this one too. Go ahead and throw on probably the Vinyl 3 preset and turn the space up a little bit. And now I'm gonna bring this back in and we'll level this real quick and then throw on the drums. Alright, Alright, so that sounds pretty good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and split up the melodies here. So I'm gonna right click on the pattern clip, go to split by channel, and then just move all these in and delete the contact one because we already rendered it out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add the drums. I'm just gonna keep these pretty simple for the most part. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a spins 808, a hit one hi-hat, basic counter snare, basic open hat, and I'll grab a clap from my resonance kit. And I think I'll grab a perk too. Grab this one right here. I'm gonna start with the clap and just put it on the third beat of every measure. So you just gotta place it once here and then just duplicate it over and over until you get all 8 of them. Then I'm gonna put down some hi-hats, just basic, fill each 2 steps. And I'll start off with the 1/6 beat, snap to grid, and the paintbrush tool right here, and just draw on the rolls. Now I'm going to go in with the 1/2 step snap to grid and do the same thing. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my snare, and this is usually pretty simple. All I'm going to do is just add it to the end of the first or second beat of a measure, and also the end of the fourth beat too. And for the open hats, I'm going to place it immediately after my snares. So you'll be able to see kind of the channel rack, and I'll show it in the piano roll too. These just hit on the second beat of a measure. So if we go to the snare, it sits right here on the 1 and. And if we go to the open hat, it's immediately after that. So 1 and 2 and it sits on the 2 beat. Or in other words, it's the next hi-hat tap over. Now moving on to the perk. And now moving on to the last, arguably the most important drum sound, the 808. And I'm just gonna go to this window here and turn everything down and put the hold all the way up. If you're wondering how I move these so quickly, I just hold Alt on my keyboard and then just scroll 1 tick up and down, and it moves it all the way up or all the way down. Similar to our bass notes, I'm just gonna keep this real simple and just have it sit on the root note and really just go from there. Now I'm just going to take all these drum sounds and route them to mixer tracks. Before I do any leveling, I'm going to go ahead and change the key. I feel like the 808 could hit a little harder, so I want to move the key down a couple semitones. So to do that, I opened up Sound Shifter on the master, and I'm just going to go ahead and adjust this semitones right here until I get the key that I like. Alright, so I'm liking -3 semitones, which is C sharp minor. So to quickly change that for the beat, I'm gonna go to the audio clip here. We'll move it down -300 cents. I'm gonna go to all the pattern clips here and select all the melody ones, and then right click and hit transpose. And so we're gonna do minus to move it down, 3, and then hit enter. And so now all of our melody sounds should be pitched down. And then I'm gonna go into the drums pattern and then just drop it down 3. So 1, 2, 3. So if we throw it all together, now our beat should be in the right key. And the last thing I'm gonna do before I level anything out, I'm going to duplicate the original melody here and just add a little switch up, which all I'm gonna do is just pitch it up an octave. So I duplicated it over here. I'm gonna left click and then left click on make unique. And I'm just gonna do control up arrow. And this is what the pitched up melody is gonna sound like. So just as a bit of a change of pace so it doesn't get too boring, we can change it throughout the verses and all that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and mix and level everything out. If you wanna see an in-depth version of me mixing beats, I made a mixing tutorial last week, so go check that out. Alright, so now that we got the mix done, I'm going to go ahead and arrange it. So I'm going to start by splitting the pattern clip for the drums here. And so I'm going to start out by just laying out the melody here. I'm probably going to start the beat out with just the low piano and the original low melody. And then I'll bring in all the melody elements right here, with the violin and all that. And then I'll take the violin out, keep everything the same. And then I'm gonna go back to the low melody with the low notes. And I'll throw in the violin too. And repeat that. Duplicate the drums just for now. And we're basically just gonna do this on repeat. So I'm gonna go back to the high melody here with the violin, and I'll throw the 808 as like a bass sound. And I'm just gonna take all of this right here and just duplicate it over. All I'm gonna do is just throw in some transition sounds in my tag, and that's pretty much gonna be the whole beat. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for this one. Hope y'all enjoyed it and found it pretty helpful. And yeah, that's pretty much my method when it comes to just trying to make a hard trap beat really quickly. That's just what I do if I'm stuck and I just need to get the ball rolling to start cooking up. That's kind of the method that I use. And that's gonna wrap it up for this one, so I'll see y'all in the next video.
Reluctance.